Hi, my name is Wendy Ann Clark, and this is my channel Transformation, where I talk about being changed into the image of Jesus, which is God's plan and desire for us. And on Wednesdays, what I do is answer commonly asked questions. And this week's question is actually a follow-up to the question from last week, which was this: why do some people say that a Christian shouldn't date a non-Christian? And I talk about that in some detail, and I actually agree with that it's not wise for a Christian to date a non-Christian. So this week's question is, so if I shouldn't date a non-Christian, what am I looking for? I got a little hair there. Am I looking for someone who goes to church? Am I looking for someone who says they're a Christian? Am I looking for someone who prayed the sinner's prayer? What am I looking for? And that's a good question. So when I was in high school, my parents and a friend of theirs named Bill Mings made a movie, a Christian movie called Standing Alone. And my dad, he had a lot of experience in the film industry, and he had been a cameraman and an editor and all sorts of things. So he had a lot of professional know-how, very creative, very talented. He had contacts within the industry. He had a certain amount of equipment, things like that. And Bill had a lot of personal projects that he'd worked on, personal film projects. He had a lot of enthusiasm. He had training as well. He was able to sell and promote and push, which was all good because my dad wasn't good at promoting himself at all, which I can relate to actually. So I looked up this movie on IMDb, Standing Alone, and it was made in 1980, and it's listed with Nancy Doran as the actress. She actually won a Christian award for that part. She was a young woman from our church who played that part. I also see on IMDb, and I don't know how this happened exactly, but I see that Bill Mings is listed as the writer, but that's not actually true. In the credits on the film, you'll see that the name was Myron Wilson because it included my mom's name, My for Merla, my dad's name, Ron, Myron, and Bill's name, Will, because it was the three of them together that they gave credit to for writing it. And I was sitting at the table when we talked through and worked on the script. And it was a group effort. I was the 16-year-old, though, who I would sometimes object to ideas. And I say, oh, no, that's too dorky. Or, oh, no, that's so cheesy. Don't do that. And I remember being at the sound studio where they were putting the music and the voiceovers and things like that to the film. And there was this one part I remember where the main character says, "It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard." And later I told my dad, oh, that was too many. It's so hard. And I said, less is more. If she just said, it's so hard, and they would let that sit there, I said, I think that would be more powerful. And my dad was like, why didn't you say that when we were in there? And I said, because I was not invited into that space. I was there as an observer, and you were all talking to each other. And, I didn't feel like anybody was asking for my opinion, so I didn't share it. That's what it was. But when we were sitting at the table, they were asking for my opinion. I remember having conversation, being included in the conversation, and my mom sometimes turning to me and asking, what do you think about that? Things like that. So I do remember that. There was quite a bit of discussion about why the movie shouldn't be about just a Christian shouldn't date a non-Christian, because it was about, high schoolers, and I think they were in high school. They were in youth group. Maybe it's not defined. I don't know if it's high school or college, but she's dating a guy who says he's a Christian, but he's not living a life as the fruit is questionable. And that was important to my mom. I think there was some discussion about why don't we just make him a non-Christian? And my mom was like, no, it's important that he claims to be a Christian, because what I want to happen in the movie, my mom said, is I want her to look at him and really make a decision. Is this the kind of guy that I want to be attached to And it's not enough that he says he's a Christian. And then my parents talked about how their friends, like them when they were in high school and college, when they were getting married, the goal was just marry a Christian. If as long as the person says, hey, I'm a Christian, that's all you need. And then my parents said, but that didn't turn out well for many, many, many people. That one person walked away, that one person was unfaithful, that there was wishy-washy stuff, that some people that said they were Christians turned out they were Christians at all, or never wanted to go to church, or never wanted to be involved in the things of God. That you're looking for more than that. You're looking at fruit, and you're looking at spiritual maturity, and you're looking at a desire and a heart for God. And so the film, Standing Alone, was more about that she has to grapple with this guy's worldly. It doesn't matter that he says he's a Christian. Maybe I need more than that. That's kind of where the movie goes. Matthew 7:15 through 20 says this: beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit. That is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. Now, in this particular passage, Jesus is talking specifically about false prophets, but the principle is true. Just pastors, church leaders, all people who profess to be followers of Jesus, we can look and see their fruit and get an idea of whether or not they're really following. We can get an idea. I don't think we can look and say, ooh, that person's not saved. I know they're not saved. But we might say, ooh, they're kind of immature, and I can see the areas of immaturity. I can rightly assess some of that. And Galatians 5:22 through 23 tells us fruit that the Holy Spirit starts producing in our lives when we're walking with God. But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. Now, I have met some Christians, sometimes in leadership, some Christians who have, and I think this is probably true for all of us, have great strength in some of these fruit of the Spirit. You see a lot of the fruit of the Spirit, but they're missing something. And I have sometimes told a pastor, gentleness is a fruit of the Spirit too. Patience, that's a fruit of the Spirit. But if a person in leadership is missing them all, that's a big red flag. But usually the Holy Spirit is working on, things one at a time or a few at a time. It seems like patience and gentleness maybe go together. Maybe self-control and patience go together. These kinds of things that the Holy Spirit might be doing in you over time. And if you're a new believer, it might take you a little while to see where and how he's doing these things in your life, which is why I always recommend to people to take some time, maybe at the beginning of the year, to assess, what's the Holy Spirit been doing in your life so you can see it. But a person who's leading and teaching and pastoring at a church should have lots of fruit of the Spirit being well developed. You should be able to see those things. And in a dating relationship with someone who says, I'm a believer, you should be able to see some places where you see the Holy Spirit's working in that person's life in a very real way. Sometimes someone might be really immature. That's probably not a time to be dating somebody. If you're really immature, that's maybe not a time to be dating somebody. That's a time to be growing in the things of the Lord and studying the Bible and becoming the kind of person that will attract the kind of person that you would really like to spend your life with at some point. So Paul talks about the characteristics of the Holy Spirit that we should see over time as the Holy Spirit works in our lives. So do you see these things happening in the life of the person who says that he or she is a follower of Jesus? And if you aren't sure, then maybe you should wait until you see some fruit If you see a lot of opposites or a lot of the person says one thing but actually does something else, then that's a danger. Will Robinson, slow down. Pray a lot. Pray, pray, pray a lot. Especially in this question of who should I most be spending time with? Pray a lot. Seek wisdom and counsel from wise people around you, people that you trust, that love God, that are wise, that make wise decisions. Pay attention to what they say and pay attention to what you see in front of you. Don't overlook things because your emotions are involved. If there's a red flag, don't overlook the red flags. A lot of people do that. Be willing to step away from someone even if it's hard, even if it hurts, even if it's not really what you really want to do, even if the other person doesn't understand or objects or is hurt by you stepping away. Be willing to step away if you see that this is the person, not the person that you should be with. Proverbs 28:26 says this, whoever trusts in his own mind is a fool, but he who walks in wisdom will be delivered. So related to the talk that I did on Monday, seek wisdom, walk in wisdom, find some wise counsel, make a good decision. So back to that question, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? He says he believes, he's a Christian. I know he prayed that prayer and he walked forward when he was in 3rd grade, and so, yeah, he's kind of mean, and yeah, he has a really bad mouth, and he has a really quick temper, and yeah, he's really selfish, but he's a Christian. If you can name 10 red flags, you should respond, and you should recognize that we're looking for fruit. What is the fruit of the person's life? Sometimes it will be a matter of maturity. It's just sort of like when somebody's been delivered, say from alcoholism, some addiction, and they say, they've had a come to Jesus experience and they've been delivered. You should still probably wait, 5 years to see what that person does next, to see what that person does when life gets hard, when things aren't easy, when old memories surface. Does that person fall back into addiction? I meet lots of people who have fallen back into addiction over and over and over again. So you're waiting to see some fruit. You're waiting to see some maturity that might need to take some time. And so that might mean not just going, yay, he's not an addict anymore. Let's get married. Let's go out, whatever. Maybe wisdom means, waiting and watching and stepping back. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, hit like. If you want more content like this, you want to pop up, you want notifications or subscribe, look for my talk on Monday and look for me answering questions on Wednesday. And again, thank you for watching and see you next time.